Supsies babe face! Today we're going to be talking about 5 scientifically backed ways that you can be happy all of the time. Okay, so I'm firstly going to start with a disclaimer that no one is happy all of the time. And I'm sorry if you clicked on this video thinking that you could get that, because it's not true. Everyone is human. Bad stuff and challenges happen to everyone, and it is only a human thing to experience negative emotions sometimes. But don't leave me just yet. There is ways that you can increase your amount of happiness in your life, and there's ways to increase your optimism and your positivity even when you are going through difficult times. So by the end of this video, you won't only just feel more happy just from watching it, you'll come out of it with some science-backed tactics and strategies that you can take into your life moving forward so you can live a more happy and positive life. If you're new around here, welcome. My name's Holly, and I'm here to teach you how to be happier in life and to create more meaning and purpose. If you're into this kind of stuff, hit the subscribe button and you'll hear more from me. So just going back to my disclaimer about not being happy and positive all of the time, because this is not possible. If you yourself or you know someone else who does appear to be happy and positive all the time, this is toxic positivity. When a person is either suppressing or repressing their negative emotions or challenges that they're not actually dealing with, and they're just covering it up with positive emotions and smiles, that's when it's toxic positivity. But when you are going through a difficult time and you're experiencing those negative emotions, the way to get through this is to actually process them as they're happening. And you'll hear me say that again and again. I can't reinforce it enough. You need to process your negative feelings as they're happening in the moment. Or if you can't physically do it in the moment because you're at work or something, it's really important to go back to them and revisit them as soon as possible, whether that be when you get home or when you next talk to your therapist. But I just want to point out here that I am not a qualified therapist. If you are dealing with mental health issues or any kind of negative challenges in which you need to process your negative emotions, I do advise you see a professional, because I am not here to fix your mental health problems. I am here to provide you with practical tips and strategies to increase your happiness and your positivity in life. This is a personal development channel. So without further ado, if you want to hear about my happiness hacks, let's get into it. So number 1 is to really just start with the basics. And with the basics, I'm talking about your physical health. I know you've heard it a million times before, and I will repeat it over and over until you actually start doing it. You need to look after your physical health. I'm talking getting at least 8 hours of sleep. But just a side note here is that the 8 hours of sleep that are recommended from the research was based on research done on men, and women need at least 8 hours sleep, but during their period can need 9-10 hours or more. So it is crucial that you figure out how much sleep you need every single night according to your lifestyle and your needs. And the best way to test this is just to sleep an amount and see how tired or awake you feel the next day. Because if you're feeling low energy or tired, you're probably just not getting enough sleep. That's the number 1 reason. So starting with sleep is one of the best ways to raise your energy levels so that you actually provide yourself the ability to feel happier. And obviously, I should also mention here, when we're talking about your physical health, drinking lots of water. You need to stay hydrated. This is one of the quickest ways that you can reboost your energy. When you're starting to feel a bit down or something, just ask yourself if you have drank enough water today, because that could be the reason you're feeling low. When I was a child, I don't think my parents actually ever taught me to drink water and the importance of that. Now, don't get me wrong, I had great parents and they raised me very well, but I just don't think that they realized the importance of hydration. And so as I became an adult, I had to actually intentionally teach myself to drink water. And I did this by setting water goals for myself, that I had to drink a certain amount by a certain time of each day. And still sometimes I fall out of this as my life changes and my habits change. It's a really easy one to let slip. So we have to make sure that we're keeping on top of our water goals and we're keeping ourselves hydrated so our brain can function at its maximum capacity. Another really obvious one here is your actual nutrition. And I guess all of the physical health ones are pretty obvious. And I'm not going to give you nutritional advice because I know there's a lot of conflicting research and evidence of the different types of foods that you eat. So I'm not going to tell you what you should be eating. That's a journey that you need to figure out for yourself. But for me, I like to just keep it simple and basic and make sure I'm eating lots of vegetables and fruit so that I'm getting all of those micronutrients in, and then also making sure that I'm getting the proteins and the carbs that I need to fuel my body for energy. Obviously, trying to eat as many whole foods as possible, that being one ingredient foods, and trying my best to avoid those overly processed foods. But my best advice here is to actually just observe how you're feeling after you eat a meal and for the 24 hours after you eat a meal, and notice the difference of how your body feels when you eat junk food or when you eat nutritious food. And then finally, the last one with your physical health is to obviously exercise. This can be 3 days a week for 45 minutes, or half an hour, 5 days a week, or even if you just want to start out slow, a 10 to 15 minute walk every day is better than nothing. There is obviously extensive research on how much the benefits of exercise affect your health, your mental health, your physical health, and in turn, your happiness. So that's all the basics, and they are obvious because they work and they are scientifically proven to work. So if you're not doing them, then really start to get them under control, because that is going to be your foundation for happiness, and then you can build on top of that. Number 2 is to look after your mental health. Now, as I said, I'm not a psychologist, but there's a lot of ways that you can look after your mental health and well-being. And this one is so important, because if your mental health is down in the toilet, then you're not going to be able to work on the rest of your happiness, because you'll just be functioning in survival mode. And you need to have effective coping strategies in place so that you can be resilient and bounce back when you do have difficult and challenging times. Now, there are many ways that you can look after your mental health. The first one being going to therapy. Everyone needs a therapist, even if you're not going on a consistent basis. If you're ever going through a really difficult time in your life, then I would advise to go and see a therapist. But to maintain good mental health throughout the rest of your life, there's a number of other practices that I'm going to go through now. So one of them is actually going outside and spending time in nature. This is a scientifically proven way to improve your mental health and make you happier. If you live in the inner city or something, then you can still go out and go to a park or be amongst some trees or something. If you ever have access to a beach, then this is a great one. And then also just going out on maybe day trips and that kind of thing every now and then, to go on a nature walk or go camping and spend time outside in nature, and get off your phone when you're doing this. Spend at least some of that time actually being in the moment, listening to the sounds, smelling the smells, being mindful, and actually embracing the nature around you. This is our natural state. We've evolved to be in nature, and our daily lives in this day and age, in the fluorescent lighting, sitting at a desk all day, is not what we were made for. So getting outside, getting some of that vitamin D on your skin, or even going to the snow or running in the rain, it's still experiencing nature. And this is proven to increase your happiness. Another way to look after your mental health is to actually express your feelings. So this begins with expressing your feelings to yourself and knowing how you're feeling. So name it to tame it. You could also express your feelings by writing them down in a journal to gain clarity, because when we either write something down or verbalize it, it helps us to process what we're feeling. And that leads me to my next point, which is actually talking to a friend or family member or someone close to you, or even just a stranger. When you talk to someone and express how you're feeling, especially when you're going through something difficult, this is one of the most effective ways to improve your mental health. But it's also important to actually protect yourself from others and your mental health if other people are negatively affecting you. And I don't mean don't be there for others when they need you, but if you have a colleague or a friend or a person in your life who is constantly negative energy towards you and bringing you down, then you need to either reduce the amount of time that you're spending with them or cut them out completely. Or you could work on your own happiness and then infect them with your happiness so much that they end up happy too. Just another option, just putting it out there. Another way to look after your mental health is to actually learn how to deal with conflict. So maybe spend some time, maybe watching some YouTube videos or reading a book, and learn some tactics of how to deal with conflict, because this will help you in your life. Everyone experiences conflict at different times, no matter how much you avoid it. Trust me, I'm speaking from experience. But knowing how to logically deal with conflict and having tactics in place for when it does come up will protect your mental health, because you'll know what to do and you won't just react emotionally and send yourself in a negative spiral whenever you experience conflict. Conflict can help us to learn and grow and to develop our relationships to be actually stronger. So I know it seems counterintuitive, but actually lean into it and have an open mind about how you can deal with this and how it could potentially benefit you. Another thing that you can learn about that will help you to be happier and improve your mental health is to learn how to emotionally self-regulate. And by this, I mean learning about emotional intelligence, learning how to process your emotions in the moment, and also practicing positive emotions like pride, happiness, gratitude, joy, love. And when you learn how to feel your emotions, but then choose how you're going to behave despite how you're feeling, and you get that emotional self-regulation in control, you won't only improve your relationships, you'll feel happier and more able to cope with things, and you'll be able to feel happier more often because you'll know how to do it. And finally, another way to look after your mental health is to actually adopt a positive attitude, especially when you're dealing with difficult things. So when you have a growth mindset and a positive, optimistic attitude, even when you're going through something difficult and you're experiencing hard challenges or difficult feelings, your positive attitude will allow you to be more resilient and bounce back faster. When you see the silver lining in things and think about the ways that this negative situation could benefit you, or thinking about how you could learn from this, you feel better about it. And this positive attitude also has an effect on the other people around you. Remembering that your experiences and your problems are temporary, and you've already gotten through every single difficult thing you have in this life up until today, and no matter how hard it is, you can get through this too. It's only going to make you stronger, and you will grow and improve from every challenge that you go through. Number 3 for how to be happy and positive all the time is about nurturing your relationships and social connection. I cannot emphasize enough how important relationships are to happiness. Human beings have evolved to be social and to work in groups. And studies have shown that when you're on your deathbed, one of the biggest regrets is not spending more time with loved ones. Nurturing your relationships and your social connection with others not only gives you short-term benefits and happiness, it gives you long-term benefits as well. So in the present moment, having eye contact or physical connection, if you ever meet me, I'm a hugger, you'll know I'm a hugger. But these kind of social connections release oxytocin, which is the neurotransmitter, or what they otherwise call the love chemical. And this makes you feel happiness. It doesn't matter if you're an introvert or an extrovert. Social connection is important. It's also strongly linked to your own personal meaning and purpose of your life, because when we give back to others, we find it fulfilling. And when we establish these social connections, we feel a part of the bigger whole. We feel like we belong. So even little tiny interactions with your coworkers or someone that you pass on the street, these little tiny things matter as well. A smile or some eye contact or just saying good morning, these things benefit you and the other person, and they build up the more little interactions that you have with people. So if you even have a couple of seconds of interaction with, say, a colleague at work, every time you have that interaction, your relationship builds and you establish more of a meaningful connection. So make sure to put effort into your relationships, and whenever you can, especially with your loved ones, try and have deep and meaningful connections. Try and talk about something really important to you. Be honest and authentic, and try and open up the space to make them feel comfortable to be themselves around you as well. Because when you go deep and have deep, meaningful connections with people, it really builds the relationship and the connection between you. And this is what people live for. This is literally the emotional hook that they put into movies and stories. When you can have a deeper understanding of someone and they have that same understanding of you, you nurture the relationship. And this is literally the reason for living for many people. A lot of times people will like a workplace because of the people that are there, or people will like going to social groups or sporting clubs because of the people that are there, because of the connections that they have with the people and feeling part of a group. And I'll just point out, while we're talking about connections with other people, that if you're doing this kind of important work of working on yourself to be happier, your positivity and your happy mood will be infectious to others in the same way that a negative mood is infectious. The more that you express your positive mood and your happy feelings, the more it will affect the people around you. And it's so easy to pick up on these things. For example, if you practice happiness just for 5 minutes in the morning, walked into work with a big smile on your face, talked to your colleague and brought their energy up, then they go home later that day, talk to their wife, bring her energy up, and the next day she goes into her workplace and does the same. See how your positive mood can have a butterfly effect, and you can affect a lot of people this way. And this brings me to number 4, which is to be intentional about your happiness. And by watching this video, you're already being intentional about it. So love that for you. Keep it up. But when you're actually practicing happiness and you're trying to make your life happier, you're intentionally putting yourself into a good mood. And this is just going to spiral upwards the more that you do this. Happiness is a habit and it's a practice. Because we're not in that group of people who are just sitting around waiting to win the lottery and waiting for good things to happen to them in their life, because you might be waiting a while. But around here, with people like me and you, we are intentionally practicing happiness. We make our lives about happiness, and we do it on purpose because it not only makes us feel good, it also benefits those around us. It has been scientifically proven to make you think more creatively, think more logically, be able to solve difficult problems, be more productive and efficient, and the list goes on. There are only benefits to being happy and more positive. So I just can't stress enough how important it is to be intentional about your happiness. Practice happiness intentionally on a daily basis. And there are so many ways that you can do this. You can firstly practice happiness. And by this, I mean feel the emotion of happiness and practice feeling this in your body. Meditate on the happiness. Other ways you can be intentionally happy is to practice gratitude. And you can do this either by speaking things out loud or talking to someone you know about what you're grateful for, or writing in a gratitude journal. Another way to be intentional about happiness is to reflect on what you've done and practice pride and feeling proud of yourself. This not only makes you feel good, but it builds your confidence in yourself so that you are more productive and effective and you get into that upward spiral. You can also practice positive affirmations. You know I'm a big one on this. And this is about reprogramming your mindset to have positive and optimistic beliefs about yourself. And this way you can improve your capabilities, you can change your emotions, and you can change your thinking. You can also be intentional about your happiness by improving your self-talk and by observing the thoughts that you have in your head, and any negative ones, changing them to be positive. Being self-aware of your thinking habits and reprogramming your mind to a more optimistic state. I could go on and on about this, and there's a lot of depth to this topic. So let me know if you want me to make a video about reprogramming your mindset and positive self-talk. But another way to be intentional about happiness is to intentionally put positive habits and practices and systems into place. So I'm talking about all of these positive physical habits, like we talked about in the first step, actually applying all of these strategies about the mental health, about the social connections, applying these strategies so that they're in systems and habits on your daily life so that you can work more on autopilot and make your happiness a more automatic thing. The more you practice these strategies, the better you'll become at them, and the more automatic it will be to be a positive and happy person. And this is how you raise your level of happiness in your life. Applying positive, happy habits is crucial to improving your happiness. And the last thing I'm going to mention here about being intentional about your happiness is to actually learn about happiness and focus on it. Focus your mind on it. Put in the time and energy to think about happiness, to watch videos, to read about it, to learn about it. Because the more that your mind is occupied with happiness and with this life practice, the happier you will be. It is that simple. And this is maybe one of the best tips I can give you about happiness, is to actually just be intentional about it and try to be happier by using all of these steps. And finally, number 5, and the last thing I'm going to tell you about how to be happy and positive all the time, is to practice mindfulness and be in the present moment. I'm talking about being in the now, stopping, experiencing this moment for what it is. You'll find that even if you're going through something really challenging and difficult in your life, unless you're going through physical pain or you're literally in the moment of the bad thing happening at the time, in most cases, the present moment is not that bad. Probably 99% of your actual moments, there's not anything bad happening. So if you take your mind away from the past, away from the future, even if it's taking your mind away from something that happened 5 minutes ago, you'll find that the present moment is actually pretty neutral. So meditation is essentially the best way probably that you can practice being in the moment. But if you're not into meditation, that's okay. Just try and figure out how many times in a day can you stop and be present and think about what you can hear, smell, and taste and see around you. What is happening in this present moment, and just accept it for what it is. But I should also point out here that a really good hack for happiness is to savor any positive things that are happening. So if something good does happen, really think about it, lean into it, feel it. If you're feeling in a good mood, lean into that and expand it. If something good happens, really savor that moment, and instead of just moving on to the next thing and then the next thing, try and be in the moment and embrace what you do have. A good way to do this, and something that I do, is whenever I give someone a hug, I stay really present in the moment and I feel the oxytocin, I feel the feeling of connection, and I just try and embrace that moment for however long it goes for. And usually it's just a few seconds. But practice savoring these positive moments and experiences, because the present moment is all you really have, and it's all you ever will have. The past and the future does not exist, and the present moment is the only thing that's real. So I could go into that, but maybe in another video. But this is your life that you get to experience, so you may as well enjoy it. Do whatever you can to enjoy this life. And that basically sums up the video for today. There are so many scientifically backed ways that you can improve your happiness and reasons why you should. It feels good, it benefits yourself in so many ways, it benefits others in so many ways, and it just makes the world a better place. So spread your sunshine, be happy, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!